Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to After Hours. I'm Tim, and here's Jonathan. And today we're just going to get into a new topic of competition and rivalry. Jonathan, you are a small business owner here in Culpeper, Virginia. Can you tell us a little bit about your business and your experience? Basically, why should we listen to you?
Well, I started in 2006, Express. Been in college, left, had an opportunity to start a business. My parents had been in printing all my life. They had sold and decided, I want to start a business. I know a little bit about it. Let me go ahead and try it.
So it sounds like you've kind of, come into the business with family, but it's safe to say that it is your passion. It's something that you love to do. Business
in general is my passion. I don't think it would have mattered what it's what I grew up around. So it was sort of where I guess I was just sort of geared to because I saw it. I think it could have been anything, but in terms, I love business. I love that I'm in control of my growth, my life, my opportunity.
Fantastic. Well, as far as backgrounds go, I'm Tim. I'm in marketing. That's all you need to know. We're going into our topic. The topic is competition and rivalry. Now, really, I'm just going to be asking some questions about this topic, and I want to hear your responses. So we would love to hear your guys' responses as well, but it's our time to talk. You talk in the comments. Okay.
So he'll calm down, everybody.
I'm just angry. So what is your stance or view on competition in general? Like, does it exist to you, or do you think that it's possible to have competition that's healthy or that's harmless, or is it just too risky just to get involved with it?
Competition does exist, and I say unfortunately exists. I think, everybody says, competition is a good thing. I don't actually agree with that. I think that's just been made up because for the public, it's a good thing. Of course,
because they're getting deals.
You go buy a car, you want to have competition. You want people trying to give you the better price, give you the better amenities and all that stuff. So, I guess from the consumer standpoint, I love competition.
It's a win-win.
But when it comes to being the business side of things, no, I hate competition. There's no benefit to me to be competing with somebody. I'd much rather just be in full control. And
so do you see there's no wiggle room of competition actually being a good thing, or a healthy competition, stuff that's like it doesn't hurt anybody, it just kind of keeps everything active?
I know the answer should be yes, but I know.
No, there's no right or wrong answer. It's your answer.
Yeah, no, I don't like competition.
Interesting. So you think there's just a higher risk of just it being harmful for the business in general?
Yeah, I think it stifles growth. It stifles more opportunity because funds are being spread out amongst everybody to where, I could get everybody coming to me solely. I could focus on more equipment,
so
more training,
more of a
all
distraction from straight on business.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, we live in a world of things happening. And for instance, let's give the example of, let's say there's a business that opened up next door to yours, and it is a rival business that does the exact same thing you do. You can call that coincidence, or you can just say that's intentional. So how do you react? There's physically a business beside you that does the exact same thing. Like, what's your reaction? Do you think that your business should have to cater to your situation, or you just stand by your prices and your services?
I would definitely stand by my prices and services, but I would definitely do everything that I possibly could to try to elevate everything that we're doing, to let people know what we do, just to try to be more out in the public face, to show that we are better. I definitely wouldn't want them next to me. I honestly would want them to go out of business very quickly.
All right. Well, that's a fair opinion because it's like your business is your family. And if something threatens your family, of course, you're going to want to be defensive of it. And
especially when you've been in an area like how we have here now for 13 years. I feel like, in a sense, I guess this is being broad, but, I don't so much mind, competition being up north or in down south, but right around me. Like, I almost feel like at this point, this is sort of like my family. So I sort of take it like somebody's coming into my area, my territory.
So do you then think that your business and personal life are the same, or they just, there's no separation, or because it is personal to you when it affects your business?
Yeah, no, I fully think business and personal is totally together.
When you're a business owner, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess that's really tough to separate because one affects the other. So how do you separate yourself from like getting to go home and kind of clock out, so to speak?
I mean, from the standpoint of clocking out, I never really do in that sense. So like being under, Facebook, things like that in the camera. Not that I'm unfortunately not the type of person that likes to go out and typically just do stupid things that would be posted on the internet.
Sure.
But I mean, everything I do, that I take a picture with my wife, my daughter, in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, am I doing anything that like would come across wrong? Because I certainly don't want to come across that way.
Sure. You care about your figure and what you represent.
Exactly.
So it sounds like it's more of a time management of where you prioritize your time. So there's no clocking out, but there is distribution of where your hours go, whether it be with family or even at home, time to check on emails and stuff like that. So you're kind of always kind of clocked in.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And you have to be that way, I guess, because you need to be the most dedicated person if you are, the owner and the founder of the business, right?
Yeah, and it's tough not to. I mean, because you talk about worrying about competition or, does competition concern you? Now, I always think about those things in the back of my mind, or the fact that there is competition, on the internet and everything else. So when I hear my email go off at 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, I automatically want to check it, respond, make sure that there's not an upset client or that somebody doesn't need something right away.
Making sure it's not the worst situation,
Yeah, I definitely want to make sure that I can do whatever I need to help my clients. So it's always hard to be off the grid.
So what about, let's talk about bigger companies, because
Okay.
we're talking about small business, we're talking about local business. Let's talk about competition with bigger businesses like Coke and Pepsi. I mean, everyone knows Coke and Pepsi. I think everyone has at least drank it and they know there's a significant difference in its preference.
I guess if you like soda, you do. I couldn't tell the difference.
It's a soft drink. I love Coke and Pepsi, and we're not sponsored by them, but
which one would you pick though?
We're on the record here, so can't say anything because we don't know who would sponsor us. We'll get sponsors, so we can't say anything wrong. No, so like with Coke and Pepsi, there's obviously competition, there's a rivalry, and you could say it's healthy because they kind of nudge each other in the directions of, well, if you don't like Coke, you might like Pepsi, or if you don't like Pepsi, try Coke, and different flavors and all that. So in that sense, it seems like it helps big corporate businesses to promote themselves.
When you're the two biggest brands in the world.
Right, you're
nobody thinks of
competing
anything
brands.
else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's other colas and store brand stuff and all that, but for like the big kings, it's Coke and Pepsi or Mac and PC, just, the different rivalries. Do you think that they wouldn't even have that kind of business if one of them was just out of the picture? Or do you think that whoever dominated the market, there would always be an opposing side?
Talking Coke and Pepsi, I think that if one of them went out of business, there'd be an uprising about from the half that wanted it.
Just people just shaking bottles and just opening it. Small
Imagine what some of that stuff would sell for on eBay. And
Pepsi did that. They did the whole thing of where they brought back the Pepsi Original or Pepsi Classic, and they sold it off. It was like some kind of new flavor, but it wasn't. It just had a lot more sugar. And then they went back to Pepsi Original, which sold more than it did before. So it's like, was that the tactic? Was it to kind of sell something saying, oh, it's like a prestige one. If you don't like it, oh, well, here's the original again. So it's, they can really control whatever they want as far as their products and their value. But they probably wouldn't be nudged to make those tactics if Coke was out of the picture. Yeah, that's true.
That's what I'm getting at.
So, yeah, I guess it does kind of explain that just like if you take one out or one dominated the market, there's always going to be someone to come up against them. So it's like even if you do want to be the only distributor of branding here in the town, there's going to be someone else who's going to try and do the same thing.
And I get that. And I mean, I understand that realistically there has to be. And I think that if there wasn't competition, you would get a lot of companies. And obviously that's why things like this, are encouraged is
right.
Because you don't want one person raising the prices because that's the only person that you can go to get it. I mean, I get it from that standpoint, but as a business owner, I want to crush as many people as I can.
Dominate. Well, that kind of segues into the next topic of, do you think you should be giving in to that kind of pressure? Like, let's say there's a rival business that does things at a lower price of the same service. Are you the one who's going to change your prices to be more attractive to the clients that are going to your rival? Or what's your stake or stance on how do you react to people or other businesses making a better deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always going to have things like that. And really, it sometimes just depends on who my client is. If it's a client I've been working with a long time, and I feel a dedication to them, and they do tell me, hey, I just want you to know I found this, for X, you have it for Y.
It's like price comparison kind of thing.
If it's somebody that's been dedicated to me and I've been dedicated to them for a long time, just like you would a family, I'm going to try to do what I can to be able to help them. So from that standpoint, yes, I would lower, pricing, for example, to help
accommodate when it's, appropriate.
If it's, if it's just the first time person coming in, they're just doing price shopping, I'm not going to necessarily go out of my way to do it, only because you're not really necessarily comparing apples to apples.
Right. And it's not really a loss of business for the people who are just needing quick, convenient, cheap stuff. So what you're saying is you would rather value the long-term customers rather than the ones who just want it by the cheaper.
Yeah, because they might be getting it cheaper, but it doesn't mean that they're still getting as good a service.
Sure.
So there's so
which
many
they would
things
then
that go into
realize,
it.
yeah.
Or quality, right? There's so many different things that go into it, especially, for example, with what we do with printing and all.
Which I guess kind of leads into since they obviously don't know about those other variables, they discover those when they try and go for the cheapest and they realize, okay, the quality wasn't there, or customer service wasn't there, or the turnaround time wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I guess it's also kind of safe to kind of stay put in making sure your quality is the best it can be, that you're the best that you can be.
And that's all you can ever do, is you can only ever try to be the best that you can always be. Give the best pricing that you can do. You got to make an income for yourself. I've always tried to give fair pricing. Doesn't mean that I'm always the lowest.
Right.
I'm not always the highest. I just do the best that I can do with the equipment we have, and I just try to give all that we can.
Do the best you can with what you got.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
Right.
But, there's examples of it to where it also doesn't always pay off. There's one example where I know we had priced a big banner for a client, and we lost to them on price. And I was like, wow, that's an amazing price. And it was a client that I like doing work with. And I was like, that price is just crazy. That's great. I think you should use them. And then I saw the banner, and it was half the size of what they had asked to be quoted. So
there's always something. It's when you notice, how can you get a price that big? Oh, that's why. There's got to be something else.
Yeah, but I'm not just tooting my horn like that. I'm always in the right, and that they should have gone with me.
But that's an example of the variables that other people don't.
Then there's another example, and it was, I'd mentioned to you actually earlier today. We had priced doing a large sign job for a client. And I followed up, and they were like, oh, I'm sorry, we actually ended up giving it to somebody else. And I always try to find out why, because I want to make sure we can try to improve in the future for things that we do. And she was like, well, look, you actually had the lower price. But what it came down to is when I had actually sent my quote, I had said, hey, look, when you prove all this, we'll go ahead and start doing proofs for you. And she had initially asked for proofs before committing. And, because of things in the past, I sort of had a firm stance on I don't want to get stuck doing graphics and not getting the work. And in the long run, I sort of shot myself in the foot because she saw the more value in the fact that another company was charging her more, and I don't know how much more, but we would have maybe charged $50 to set up the graphics, for example. It obviously, I'm sure they were probably charging way more than that, but they were willing to do the graphics ahead of getting any commitment on the order. And so she went with them. So it's not always about price, so I'm not overall concerned about
competing prices and stuff.
Yeah.
It does still sound like it's just a natural progression of the clients that know you will stay with you. Even if the prices are lower, they know that it's not about the price. It's about the quality of service. It's about the turnaround time. It's about the familiarity. It's about the comfort and trust that they've already built with you. So I guess it's just kind of sticking with your investment in your clients and also your business to stand for what you know it is as quality goes.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Well, fantastic. This has been an episode of insert title here. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to catch us next time for another episode. I'm Tim. This is Jonathan, and be sure to express you.